And welcome back to the Nose Plays and the 30-day Linux Challenge. Today is day one of the challenge that I hinted about earlier this week in my channel. And today we're going to just spend a little bit of time talking about what I've been doing for the last few days. Basically, long story short, I decided that it was time for me to seriously test the waters outside of a Windows operating system. I've been using Windows pretty much exclusively for the last 20 years, but I've been aware of Linux for a long time, and a couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I got a little bit more interested in it and started looking at it for some older hardware that I was trying to get up and running that was just having a really hard time struggling with Windows. And what I found was a pretty good operating system for most general computing tasks. But the one thing that it didn't do particularly well at the time is that gaming was still a little bit difficult on it and not particularly a pleasant experience in many cases. Fast forward 3 or 4 years since then, and Linux has come a long, long way, in large part due to Steam and Valve's Proton software that they've developed. They've created this software that is a, shall we say, translator for Windows-based programs. And it sort of translates the code for the hardware so that you can do Windows programs inside of Linux. And that's been around for a long time. There have been a number of other programs. I believe the original program was called Wine, and Proton is sort of an offshoot of Wine. And so it's gotten significantly better over the last couple of years. And even more so as the Valve Steam Deck has come out this year and gained more popularity, and it runs on a Linux operating system that Steam had developed several years back when they released the Steam Box. That OS is, or a version of that OS, is what is on the new large handheld Steam Deck that is very similar to like a Nintendo Switch, or if you're really old, an old Sega Game Gear, but significantly bigger and more beefy. It basically has the specs of a mid-grade to low-level laptop, and it can play games, and it can play a lot of games on the Steam library very, very well. And that's sort of pushing more and more game developers to do what they can to make their games as accessible to Linux users as they can. So if you're not familiar with some of these projects, it might be time to become familiar with them, because this, I believe, is going to be the future. There has been a lot of angst about some of the decisions that Microsoft has made regarding their policies and how they want to handle their future releases, and the types of privacy concerns and other concerns that people have, and just the amount of bloat. It's just not a great operating system in terms of being lightweight and super quick and efficient. It works pretty well. It's very stable. It runs a lot of software, but it's getting to the point for me, especially, that it's a bit of a problem, and I don't know that I want to be on it indefinitely. So I have been looking around. One of the distros that I spent a significant amount of time playing around in is Linux Mint over the last few years. And Linux Mint literally just dropped Linux Mint 21. This is the 21 edition. It literally just came out a couple days ago and installed super quick. I won't lie, when I went to delete my Windows operating system on this, my main hardware, I was a little bit leery, but at this point that operating system had been in use for about 2 years, and I usually do a clean Windows install every year or two anyways, just to keep things fresh and keep it running well. And so it was time for that anyways. So what I figured was, since this came out right at the beginning of the month, I'd go ahead and I would do 30 days of Linux Mint 21, see how it goes, see what things I struggle with, see if it's worth switching to, and really put it through its paces and put it into daily driver use for me. Um, so perhaps in these videos you'll learn a little bit more about me and what I do with my hardware. But before we get too much further, let's just talk a little bit about what hardware we're dealing with here. So as you can see on the NeoFetch here, we have operating system Linux Mint 21. We're running kernel 5.15.0-43 generic. I've had this turned on for about 5 hours now with a bunch of packages, blah, blah, blah. I have 3 monitors currently running. You only see the main one, obviously. The desktop environment is Cinnamon 5.4.9. You can see a little bit about my themes and icons. And then down at the very bottom there, my CPU hardware is a Ryzen 5 3600 12-thread processor with clocked at 3.6 gigahertz, just stock, not overclocking or anything. I have an old AMD Radeon R9 390X with 8 gigabytes of onboard graphics memory, and then I have 32 gigabytes of RAM. And this is just sort of my daily driver, my daily gaming computer. I mainly just do internet stuff and gaming on this computer. I've gotten into playing around with virtual machines, and so having all the extra RAM and cores has been nice, and also hosting temporary gaming servers for my friends because I have the hardware and the ability to do that. So those are some of the things I like to do. And you can see this is pretty standard. They've got a really nice background picture here. There's a whole bunch of pictures that you can pick from. There's your file manager. You can set the colors and themes to your liking, but it's very reminiscent of a standard file manager with a few big exceptions. And then this is your system resource. This is kind of like when you Control-Alt-Delete, which is not a thing in Linux. That's one of the first things you'll learn. No more Control-Alt-Deleting for most things. But yeah, this is basically my system. So we're going to get rid of all this, and we're going to dive right into what I do with my computer. And that's mainly game. And so I'll be perfectly honest. Gaming on Linux is kind of great right now. I'm literally kind of shocked at how good my experience has been. In just the last 24 to 36 hours that I've been tinkering with this OS after installation and adding software and testing things out for you guys before I did this video, it's kind of nuts how many things I've got working and how little effort it took. Now, I will say that it did take some effort, and the biggest thing that you're going to have to learn about Linux is it's not Windows. It might look like Windows at times. It might act like Windows at times. It's not Windows. It's never going to be Windows. And you're just going to have to deal with and learn to use it differently. But let's talk a little bit about Stellaris. Stellaris is a game that I've recently got into playing. I played it quite a bit over the last, I don't know, 3 to 6 months. You can see I have over 100 hours of playtime in Stellaris. And this is just regular Steam. I have Steam installed on here. I have Stellaris installed on here. And I'm going to show you how well it plays. And I'm also going to show you how you get some of these things to work. Now, the cool thing about some of these games, if I click here, is you can see that a number of games that I have in my library right now are Linux compatible. So these are games that will run on Linux natively. And then some games take a little bit more effort. The way that you get a game to work in Linux is if you go to the game in your library and you see an install button, you can usually just install it, and those are games that work natively in Linux, and they should work pretty well for the most part. Sometimes they don't work great, And sometimes the Windows version of the game works even better. And so if you're having trouble with a game that natively runs in Linux, try running it in the Windows version, which is kind of odd, but it's just because those versions tend to get more attention because more people use them. And so the way that you get to that is you go down to the properties, and you click on that, and you get to this screen. And this icon for many games will be grayed out. It'll say for Windows only or for Windows and Mac. You can't even click on it. But if you right-click on the game and you come to this screen and you drop down to compatibility, you can check this box and you can run the Proton package, which is, again, the translator for Windows. So it translates the game from Windows code to Linux code, essentially, so that you can play it. There's a whole bunch of these. There's the most recent one, which is always called experimental. This is one they're always working on and improving. And then there's a bunch of older ones that they've archived. And there's a really cool website called Proton DB, Proton Database, that will kind of give you some tips and pointers on which one of these that you might want to try using if you want to go that route. But you don't need to go that route for games that are native to Linux like this one is. So you can see in the background it was already starting to prepare that translation layer. That's what all this update stuff is all about. It might take a few minutes to install some of those Proton packages. They are pretty hefty in size. They can be a couple of gigs, like 1 gig, 600 megabytes. No, they're not tiny, so if you have a very small hard drive, that can be an issue if you try to install too many of them at once. You can uninstall them just like a program and only ever have one on your hard drive at a time if you're really pinched for hard drive space. But if you have a large hard drive like I do, you just install the ones you need and you leave them on there. But that's basically it. You just click on that, and then you click on whichever version you want to use, and you're good to go. So, give me 1 second. Okay, so that's where we're at. So we can go ahead and we can play this game, and I want to show you how well this works, because like I haven't done a lot of tweaking for this. In fact, I managed to get this game to work before I fixed a major issue with my graphics driver. So I had a graphics driver issue that I didn't even know about at first, because this is one of the first games I tested out, and it worked great, even with the graphics driver error. I'll be showing you the graphics driver error that I had with Mint. It's not common to Mint, it's common to my specific graphics card. So if you have a 290X, a 290, or a 390X, or a 390, this is something that might affect you, but pretty much everybody else should be okay. But I'll explain that when we get to a later video, not today. Today we're just going to jump right into Stellaris and show you the state of Linux gaming, because again, I've not played games on Linux before yesterday. I tried to about 3 years ago, and I couldn't really get anything to work. I am batting 1,000 right now, knock on wood. It has taken a little bit of effort with some games, but many games in my Steam library, which may or may not be typical, just work. It's kind of nuts, and it's kind of crazy, and it's kind of making me think, why didn't I do this sooner? Because there's a lot of things that I really like about this OS. It's so much snappier than games. There's so much more customization, and I'm a big, I like to overclock. I'm a big get in the hardware and tweak it and make it as good as you can, and get in the software and get lean and clean and make it as nice as you can. Let's start a new game. And I will say, I've played this game for a couple of hours, and I've had 0 crashes, 0 glitches, 0 artifacts, nothing, absolutely nothing has gone wrong. That doesn't mean that won't be the case tonight. If we have a bug or a glitch, we'll have a bug or a glitch. That is something you'll just have to get used to. with Linux, because sometimes you have things that happen, and sometimes they're really easy to fix, and other times they're a little more. So far, so good in this game. So, unfortunately, when I switched over to Linux, I noticed that all of the empires that I had created on my Windows account didn't get carried over. And I don't know if there's something that I tag in terms of putting them in cloud storage, or if it's just not natively done. But I was unable to carry over all my other games and save files, so I've had to rebuild the factions. And so I started with the Vultures. They're one of my favorite factions. I've messed around with them for some time. Let's go ahead and take a look at the Vultures faction, and I'll kind of explain why I chose the stuff I did for them. So you got a couple of different appearances. I really like this new human model. The older human model kind of looks a little too cartoony for my taste, so I'm going with this one. I think it fits pretty well for the Vultures. Then we go to species name, and the Vultures are descendants from the Zari Empire, so I went ahead and put Zari in here. Didn't fill in any biography information, but you could literally just cut and paste some of the backstory from the Endless Legend wiki and throw it in there if you really wanted to do it. This is just a list of humanoid names. Again, you could create a custom one with all of the alter heroes' names if you really wanted to get fancy with it. And then this is where we really get to start picking some of the stuff that makes the Vultures the Vultures. And so I went ahead, and the Vultures are really good at science. Science in this game is a little bit different than normal endless space 2, endless Legend 2. And so I went ahead and I chose physicists. And I did that for a very important reason. It's specifically physicists tier or tree of science has to do with gate technology. And the Vultures are well known in all of the games for having these teleporter gates. And so we're actually going to add that flavor to this version of the Vultures, and this just helps them get to that technology a little bit faster. They're also well known for being a defensive army, so I had to Brazilian more defensive army damage, so their empire is very hard to invade. Ground wars against them tends to go very poorly for whoever attacks them. So those are the two that we picked. I didn't see anything else that really sort of matched up with some of the characteristics from other games, so that's where I went with that. For their world, I went ahead and went with a frozen climate, an alpine world, so it's kind of like a cold world, sort of continental world, but a little bit colder with tundra. And so I thought that sort of fit the theme of them. In the lore, they're kind of known for being in the colder regions, living well in colder regions. So that's what I chose. You could also go with just a regular continent, or even a more cold climate. In Endless Space 2, the Vultures are left on an ice planet. Once got left behind. I just chose this because it sort of matches up with their ships sort of have this rocky shape to them, so I went with that. And then for their origin, I chose Galactic Doorstep. So this civilization has a gateway in their home system, potential technological benefit of the menace, ? They start with a gateway, and then with the emphasis on being physicists, they can unlock that gateway really quickly and start to use it to sort of jump around the galaxy, which is one of the things they're known for. You can actually get to the point in the game where you can build your own gateways. And then for their civics, so for ethics, I went with militarist, xenophile, and materialist. They're in the lore, particularly in Endless Legend, known for being diplomatic with other factions and get along with them. They're also warrior characters, warrior faction. materialists. They like robots, they like technology, but not at the complete expense of spiritualists. They do embrace, or at least tolerate spiritualism more. So I didn't want to make them fanatic materialists. We went ahead and made them an oligarchy. It sounds the most like what their structured organization is. And then we made them miners, so they have bonuses to mining because they lived underground for so long. And then warrior culture, where they basically get duelists and unity and naval capacity and all kinds of good stuff. So warrior culture seemed to fit their theme of being warriors. So there's a problem with the game, like collecting amenities or unity. This is just the sound.
Knowledge, discovery, compassion.
Their name is the Vultures. Their adjective is Vultures. Then I chose this. This symbol looks kind of like the symbol for the Vultures in some of the other games. And then I like the orange and gray, a bunch of white colors. So I just chose that. And then we chose a ship design that's reptilian. It's got a block. It sort of fits the ships. So there's my Vulture faction. If you have any suggestions for how I can make them a little bit better or more fitting to the Vultures, let me know in the comment section. But again, so far, we've been holding a solid 72 frames. That's frame cap we're using. This is an older graphics card, it's nothing fancy. I didn't show you the graphics settings. Actually, since we're not in back out here, go to the settings and I'll show you. I got it set for OpenGL 2.1. This is the native Linux version. 1080p, 72 Hz, 8x ms, high settings on everything. So, it's not like I've got the settings turned down. Everything's cranked up to the max. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and select them and start the game. And watch how fast this loads. This will take significantly longer than others. Like, just that screen right there, I'll be looking at for way longer than on others. And I haven't changed anything. This is still running off my normal 2TB SSD. So nothing's really different other than the operating system is cleaner, smoother, runs better. And so we're going to play for, I don't know, 15, 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour, and show off the game. Look at this. Oh, it works. I could not tell a difference between this and my Windows version, other than this one loads faster, which isn't a big deal. Loading times are not significant. It is noticeable. So what do we want to pick for technologies? Well, I like to rush Unity. It's nice. Energy subsidies, getting that building can really help our energy goes on, and this matches some research, especially here. This is actually one. The bonus middles are nice, but this actually unlocks robotics, which is kind of cool. So we'll go through this quick. Construction ship was put on auto build. This is a new feature that was added in recent updates. So construction ships can just be set to auto build, and they'll just go around and build any of the structures that they're capable of. And our science ship starts with the ability to automatic serve. It's no longer a tech that you have to research. So that's kind of cool. So we'll just go ahead and turn that on and see if he picked a good spot, which he did. He's going to go ahead and research this nearby system, which also has an alpine world, which is nice. And let's just take a look at our galaxy. So we're kind of over here. West quadrant. West northwest quadrant. Galaxy. Okay, well, let's go ahead and unpause the game. Oh, before we do that, actually, There's no edicts that we need to change. There's no policies that I would generally change at the beginning of the game for these guys, although there are some for other factions. But I do want to add a monthly trade. We're going to buy like 30 minerals every turn. At the same time, I think we'll just leave everything as is. So we'll add that, we'll start buying 30. If you ever want to know the cost of this, there's a multiplier over here. So if you click on this for the resource that we're selling, you can see that we're going to buy each of these at 1.30 per unit, and we can sell them at 1.7. So the buy and sell rates are always split like that. I think they do change over time based on how many people are buying or selling goods, so that's kind of neat. But we want to be buying as many minerals as possible in the early game, because that's kind of a big bottleneck. Alright, let's go ahead and pause the game, get things moving, and go ahead and zoom in and watch our ships kind of too fast, I can't keep up with it. Alright. Oh yeah, and here's our gate. So we got to get the gate activation technology. That is a physics technology. So again, the emphasis on being better at physics technology. Okay. These things to happen. I guess I'll probably build a second science ship. Yeah. While that's happening, we can go ahead and look at
construction completed.
leaders. Anomaly researcher, another archaeologist. Noticed we already started with one archaeologist, so I'm probably going to go ahead and make these guys unity for it, which is going to be any second tick. We have hired a ship. Survey. I'm so glad that they added the automatic survey at the beginning. It just makes managing all of these guys so much. We will open those with farms because that's the fault. Give people the benefit of the doubt until they stab me in the back. Terrible. We have this amenities issue that I need to deal with, and one of the ways that I like to deal with that in the early game, this trade building isn't particularly useful for us. It is providing us a little bit of amenities, but I like to replace it with the hollow figures, which is our special version of the building we get for being a warrior class. So we're going to do that first, and then one thing I'm going to do for right away is minerals. So next thing so typically in the first couple of years here, this gate's going to activate and we're going to have something that's probably a lot of we have plenty of
construction completed.
alloys, so we should probably build it.
Situation log has been updated.
We should probably be building another science ship. Voidcraft is going to be important experience. So experience. And again, 72 frames locked. The game's running great. Obviously, this hardware is pretty solid, but I'm also streaming and recording all of that at the same time. I'm not seeing any dips in the frame rate or anything like that.
We have detected an anomaly.
Now, I haven't tried it in multiplayer. So that's something that I will definitely be testing out, and maybe with the 30-day challenge, I'll come back and test this out in multiplayer. I have a couple of friends who really like to play this. We'll get on like an 8-hour session. So that could be a real test of hardware and software stuff. So you get a 5-hour, 6-hour multiplayer session instead recorded for you or not. You can just play it. But yeah, first day of the Linux challenge, initial day. Yesterday was I spent a lot of time installing, learning, basically how some of
Situation log has been updated.
Getting my suite of software either replaced by Linux versions or whatever. And then today has largely been just getting games working. So I have some stuff to show you this week. So I'll have several things throughout the week. I'm not going to promise that I'll do a video every single day. They're certainly not all going to be an hour long. But I am going to just show you every day.
System survey concluded.
One or two little things that I've figured out. So, I'm going to have to pause the game in just a second. I'll be right back. Alright, sorry about that. My dog was alerting me that somebody was at the door. But that situation was taken care of, and we're in about 30 minutes. We'll have a little bit. I'm getting a little red icon up here showing that we have unemployed pops. So we need to get that.
System survey concluded.
Get that mining district taken care of. You can see this building is now producing a whole bunch of these users and keep me super happy, or at least the foreseeable future. And then in addition to that, I'm going to need another research lab or an outlet. Do have a archaeologist, so that's something that might be able to handle it. And it looks like we did find another alpine, so that's cool. Get this guy over here for Starbase.
Evasive maneuvers.
Gateway is open. Battle station. Expect deposits for just a second. Pick the military fleet. Let's see. This guy. So this is a really neat won't take my little team to deal with. So that's
Engaging hostile forces.
Once again, big problems with frame rate or anything like that. Let's go ahead and adopt Discovery. I like Discovery. Let's go ahead and adopt Discovery. That should give us an edict calling out the stars, which I can activate. This will take 15 on this, and as long as we're below this threshold, it doesn't cost us any. If we get over this number, the excess will come off of our total. So that's something I learned. Let's go ahead and get these guys.
System survey concluded.
Go back to the Starbase. Starbase. Choice.
System survey concluded.
And since I am going to be doing this as a series throughout the month, if you guys have any things
Construction
you want to
completed.
specifically check out, test, try, please let me know in the comment section. That always gives me ideas and I'll try to respond.
System survey concluded.
Leave comments. So, construction was made, and we need to make a colony ship. So we're only missing 59 consumer goods. See, our consumer goods are pretty low. So what we're going to do is we're going to reduce this add. Let's see what that looks like. So I guess I could sell.
Construction completed.
That colony ship. Let's go ahead and get this. Second star base, third star base, fourth star base. Nice little star. Planets. Control. Our characters are leveling up, which is good. I have timed science ship in the home system. Maybe it would be good for this. One more science ship. Ship. Having multiple physicists means we can always try to switch to the one that's going to benefit us the most for whatever research we're doing. Also, I forgot about this. So at the beginning of the game, a lot of times you start with these, and this one in particular generates a pop. So getting that done as quickly as possible can be helpful. The other two are less important. But when you have the resources for it, it's worth it. That other one we should do right away. Let's get back into the swing of things here. I like that our ships basically go in 3 different directions. That's pretty this research project.
System survey concluded.
So, another thing that would be really helpful for me is most people said that they're mainly Windows users, but they might be interested in learning.
Interstellar debris analyzed.
Tell me a little bit about what you guys use your machines for and what is kind of keeping you on. Is it a specific piece of software? Is it just gaming? For me, the longest time gaming is I can't really find alternatives.
System survey concluded.
Games that I can play. So it's really been a concern for me to jump because I can do a lot of stuff because I have a lot of systems. But I couldn't play games and get some of my overclocking software or whatever it is. But that's
anomalous readings registered.
You're able to get more and more games to work reliably. You're able to find alternatives that are as good if not better than Windows versions. In many cases, you can get the Windows versions to work in Linux. It's not easy. You have to kind of do a little research and figure out how to do it. But once you learn how to do it, it works. It works pretty well. So it's the Excuses are
Knowledge is the key to the universe.
well-known connections to robots.
Situation log has been updated.
Stuff popping up here all at once. Let's
System survey concluded.
Science ship.
System survey concluded.
Take a look at our blockers. Looks like we have a bunch of glaciers and swamps. We'll see how technology goes better.
Evasive maneuvers.
That. Was to get this one strong. It's queued up to this construction. Actually, it's it had one province operating 7,000 units.
Anomalous readings registered.
Second search file.
System survey concluded. The special project has concluded.
Where's our positives? We're going to replace her with excavating site. So he's going to go ahead and work on that. And the ship has no. Pause. That is a chance of breaking through. He does it at faster speed, so it's better. Also, an archaeological site. I think this one. Yeah, we want to.
We have detected an anomaly.
When these anomalies pop up, if it's less than 200 days after it's like the end of it, your characters making speed for that. It's again. Does not appear.
Research concluded.
So got our unity. That's what spawned. Is that big lovely? Gain a bunch of units. Search. Scrap. Rare resources. I think I'm gonna take
An alien nation is hailing us.
Star base, that's good.
System survey concluded.
Survey, let's get
System survey concluded.
just a little bit of that. I think I can. This is an alternative way to colonize if you have a ship.
System survey concluded.
Just left click on the planet, colonize button, and it'll automatically queue up a colony ship. Just probably the better way to do it most of the time. Let's see how we're doing now. We have 2 available jobs and 6 housing. So minerals. Those.
Construction completed.
Like I said, I'm only going to play this one now before I get off. But I am gonna
System
try to
survey
do
concluded.
a number of
Research
videos.
concluded.
I'm not gonna obviously do every single day, but I am going to show you
We have
something to do
detected an anomaly.
every single day that I do. So next time I play, I'll probably look at a different game and show you how it's working. And show you what I did to get it to work and talk about some of the challenges that I had and the successes that I had in getting things up and running. It was really easy. Now, I'm pretty technically savvy. I'm a kid who grew up in the 80s. I grew up with like Windows 3.0 and DOS 6.0, and so command lines are not unfamiliar territory for me. Atari, black and yellow screen. Back when I was a kid, that was the first computer. First computer I ever owned. My parents had
Anomalous readings registered.
Atari, or not, Apple IIG, something like that. Had a bunch of Atari games. Instead of Space Invaders, I had something called Space Quirks, which was very similar.
System survey concluded.
Some version of the game like Pac-Man, black and yellow screen. Then we got a 386. It's the next one that I remember. We had that one for a long time. I had that in high school. But it was a really cool computer, and I got to play a lot of games. This is what I really got into right away. And I learned the computer because I wanted to play games. It was a skill that was well worth it.
We have detected an anomaly.
Go ahead and search that.
Anomalous readings registered. A new world has been colonized.
So, the way that I like to build these out, there's a bunch of different things you can do. But I kind of like to get the deficits taken care of first. So, if there's any deficits, you're going to start with a very small group of housing. These districts do provide some housing, not a lot, but a little bit. And then the next thing that I want to build, I don't know what this is. I like to build one district. Sort of just keeps me somewhat in check. That system. They've changed it somewhat. That's how it works. But I know that it seems to be okay. It's not we really out here all kinds of little guy.
Construction completed.
So let's go ahead. Let's go jobs. So that's kind of what I'm thinking this element.
Situation log has been updated. Anomalous readings registered.
Oh yeah, we're buying this too.
A new world of opportunities awaits.
Okay, so that's a little bit of a problem. We definitely need to take care of that. So
System survey concluded. System survey concluded.
Let's go ahead and start moving towards it. Might be a good plan. I don't have anything better than experiment. It's not yet. We'll also pick up desert. Not ideal.
We have detected an anomaly.
So we've got 5 artifacts.
Situation log has been updated.
Scientist present. 1 scientist ship. We have a science ship there. Guess we'll just put our fleet in orbit in case something bad happens. That should pick up some of this. We can also do this research now.
We have detected an anomaly.
Research that as well. Let's research. Let's take a look at this. Arica's about to finish that district, so we should get some jobs here soon. We'll also have some districts here.
Construction completed.
Let's just keep down towards this end game. Let's go to this game. We only need 1, 2, 3 more star bases to pick it up. So. And if we can afford 5.
System survey concluded.
It's unclear whether this continues. But for example, all of this we have locked up. Nobody else can get into that easily. So we can kind of pick all these territories up in the future. I have to worry about grabbing it right away. And the gateway. Thanks.
Situation log has been updated.
So what is this? Survey that.
Research concluded. System survey concluded.
Hydroponics base can solve many issues. So now we can do the bridge. Honestly, we did get some of this.
System survey concluded. Construction completed.
Gaining positive close to ship construction ship. Start construction. Some energy credits from there and there. Bunch of this is really rich.
System survey concluded. The special project has concluded.
sites. That sign ship is gone. Zip through. Pop up some things. Let's get our model back to station. Because I believe we have this thing useless upkeep of the ship. And that's officially an hour. So we've been playing this for about 40 minutes now.
We have detected an anomaly.
Not a single hit. Very happy. One game anecdotally reminds me my settings. It's flawless. I have a friend who recently tried running something not having flawless this week. He wasn't willing to do something difficulties, problem shots, all troubleshooting. And gave up on it pretty quickly, which is sad. But, you know, gotta deal with Windows. That's fine. So, I am very happy that this is working. It's been a real breath of fresh air. Granted, it's only been about a day, but yeah, I'm super stoked to keep it going, and I will be really excited to see what kind of feedback I get in the comments. I'll probably do another video in a day or two once I've had a little more time with it, and also once I get some feedback, so I know kind of what your guys' questions are, or what you'd like to see more of. But I'm just going to kind of take you through my experience over the next 30 days. We'll do at least 3 or 4 or 5 videos, and maybe a lot more if there's interest in it, and you guys are enjoying the content. So if you are, give it a like, watch it, let me know. Give me some feedback, give me some thumbs ups, and tell me what else you'd like to have me explore in Linux for you, so that you can have a good idea of where the state of Linux is through sources like me and through the dozens of great YouTubers out there that are also doing a good job of pushing Linux out there to the public and explaining how to get it set up and letting people know that it works pretty well once you do it. So until next time, this has been The Nose Plays, and you guys have a great day.